Hi guys, I'm Az, Operations Manager of the GTR Heritage Centre. Here we do restorations, we do standard and bespoke paint jobs, we do bespoke builds, we've got a dyno, we do tuning. We are pretty much a one-stop shop for all of your JDM and non-JDM car tuning needs. Will the Trump tax affect the JDM car market? Good question. I think it's probably most definitely will affect part of the market. Whether that's going to be in a negative way or a positive way, it really depends on, I suppose, at the time, currency exchange, what sort of vehicles. In the end of the day, I think the single import tax was 2.5% on cars which were manufactured outside of the US, and at the moment his tax has gone up to 25%. So if you had £100,000 R34 go over, instead of paying your 2.5% of that, you'd be paying 25% of that. So I think it's probably going to price a lot of people out of it. But I think there's definitely going to be some positives to it. So alongside prices of the cars, will servicing and parts go up? Again, a good question. I think it's probably a definite yes. Parts, especially with a lot of the JDM big brands like HKS, Greddy, so on and so forth, I think it's going to be across the board. The price increases, especially when the American market is so affluent with JDM cars at the moment. It's like JDM car fever at the moment, so definitely you will see a definite price increase, and that's going to be not just for the American market, but that's probably going to be for everybody across the board, because they can't just technically put their prices up to cover that. So it will be pretty much a worldwide price increase, which I think you'll see across the board. Yeah, absolutely. I think that certain models will go up. Stuff like I said, the M-Spec, the NERS, Midnight Purple 2 cars, especially stuff like the Nismo stuff, it's fetching really strong money. Limited edition 32s and 33s, I think definitely they'll go up. Will it affect the demand? I don't think so, because what will happen is, all it means is that the people who can then afford them are already able to pay that extra £20,000-30,000 on importation tax. So yeah, and there's always, I think with the US as well, there were certain licenses that you can actually import them under, and some of those special licenses that you could import them under meant that the tariffs were slightly different. Again, I've just sort of gone off the articles that I've done my research on, and mostly it seems to be talking about new cars, but used cars manufactured from Japan, and Japan's in one of the lists for the 25% tax. I think, like I said, stuff like high value Subarus, things like the 22B, some Evos and stuff like that, I think absolutely those cars will still be in high demand. I just feel like the certain percentage of clientele who can afford those cars, I don't think that will ever change. With regards to exporting and importing into the US, I think more likely the standard day-to-day client will definitely have to put his hand in his pocket more for the cars that they want. So if you have a budget of £50,000 for a Skyline, I would definitely double check tariff codes to see if you are actually going to be falling at 25% tax, because like I said before, it goes from 2.5% to 25%, and 25% of £50,000 is a big chunk of money. So yeah, absolutely. So here at the Heritage Centre, we do not just restorations and tuning and bespoke builds, we also do vehicle importation and exports. We do a lot of exports to Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the United States. So we are one of the biggest importers and exporters of Skylines as well as other JDM models. And like I said, we take them out all over the world. And at the moment we've got a car that's actually going back to Japan. It's a Nissan Skyline R32 that we're going to be exporting back to Japan for a very good customer of ours, Navi. And like I said, we do a lot of import export, and what I will sort of close on the UK market at the moment, we are 30% on all cars over 10 years old, which don't require an SVA, it's just a standard MOT. But what I will say is that a lot of importers don't want you to know is that if the car is 30 years old and meets certain criteria through HMRC, what that means is that that car can be then registered as a historic vehicle or a classic vehicle. And what that means is that you no longer pay 10% customs duty and 20% VAT, which adds up to 30%. You basically pay no VAT, and the customs duty goes from 10% down to 5%. So that's something that if you're ever looking for a car in the future, and you want us to find you a car, stuff like the R32 GDRs, a lot of the JZA80 Supras are now becoming 30 years old. Like I said, it has to meet certain criteria on the list, so before you're looking, that's where our team in Japan would then come into play and say, you know, what sort of criteria it needs to meet for the budget of the customer and so on and so forth, and what it needs to meet to get through the regulations for the historic or classic vehicle tax. So yeah, if you are looking to import a vehicle, please contact one of the team, and we'll get back to you, and I'll hopefully see you again soon, guys. Cheers now, bye bye.